and welcome back to Football Made Simple. As Andrea Pirlo prepares for his debut managerial season with the Old Lady, there's been much speculation about how he will look to set up Juventus and what style of coach he will be. With no prior experience with other teams, much of this was conjecture, but what better way to find out than from the man himself, through his thesis titled "The Football I Would Like to Play" that he wrote for his UEFA Pro license in 2019-20. If you want to have a more detailed look at the full report for more detail, it will be linked in the description below. But without further ado, let's get into it. And if you want to keep up with Pirlo's Juventus and any team or player of your choosing, check out our sponsor, the OneFootball app. It's completely free, giving you news and more, and costs absolutely nothing through the sponsored link in the description below. Pirlo has stated that he has a few key inspirations when it comes to the style of football he wishes to play, including Johan Cruyff's Barcelona, Guardiola's Barcelona, Van Gaal's Ajax, Ancelotti's Milan, and finally Antonio Conte's Juventus. This means that he would like to be an active team with all 11 players in attack as well as in defense, and he wants to dominate the ball in both attacking and defensive phases by firstly controlling possession throughout the 90 minutes and secondly pressing high whenever they do lose the ball. Let's start by looking at how he would like to build up from the back. He doesn't mention a particular formation, but he says depending on the situation he can play with 1 or 2 forwards. For the sake of this video, we'll infer this to be a 4-3-3 and either a 4-4-2 diamond or a 5-3-2. With the ball, he wants a keeper who can function as an outfield player and is comfortable beginning the play. This is especially vital when they're being pressed, as in many ways he wants to invite pressure in deeper areas and cannot risk losing the ball in these dangerous zones. In drawing the press and the opposition pushing higher up, Pirlo will be willing to go long into the space for the forwards, who he constantly encourages to make vertical runs into the space. But ideally, he would want a keeper capable of playing short and playing a line-breaking pass into the midfield. Generally, however, he will look to get the centre-backs on the ball, who he wants to be great on the ball as he views them as the first directors of the team, also tasked with breaking the first line of pressure. He will look to operate with the +1 principle when building up. Simply, if pressed by 1 forward, they will build up with 1 man +1, which is 2, and if pressed by 2 men, they will build up with 3, and so on, as he wants the minimum number of people in the build-up phase in order to create numerical advantages higher up the pitch. When they have to form the back 3, Pirlo will allow this to be dictated partially by the fullbacks' characteristics, who he views as vital, also calling them directors. Offensive fullbacks will be allowed to push high so that the central defensive midfielder drops deep to form the third man. But if one is naturally defensive, then they could stay deep instead to form the third man. But he's also willing to invert technically gifted fullbacks into the midfield to allow the other midfielders higher instead. This would help with a central overload as it makes the team less predictable as they can switch the play to either side. It should be noted, Pirlo wants to use elements of positional play, or it's having men in support of the ball so that if they do lose it, they can counter-press quickly. This involves the implementation of the rhombus dribble, so that any man on the ball should have 3 guaranteed passing options, 1 to the right, 1 to the left, and a vertical one. Ideally, the vertical one would be between the lines, as he views this pressure-breaking pass as the code for the play to switch from slow and control to quick and dangerous. Positional rotation will also be a big factor in making space. Higher up the pitch, we see more variances, with 3 key principles being width, finishing, and depth. He views these as 3 boxes that must be ticked at all times. With regards to width, Pirlo always wants a single man wide on each side at all times, meaning that the fullbacks and the wingers shouldn't be in the same vertical lane. This width is key as he views the switch of play as an important instrument to his attacking play, attacking on the right to then finish on the left and vice versa. And he also views the half spaces being occupied as another key to his team, as he wants his attacking shape to either be a 3-2-5 or a 2-3-5 in the final phase. This can be filled in the prototypical Guardiola way or the Klopp way, and Pirlo is comfortable with both. The Pep way involves the wingers staying wide and the fullbacks inverting to then allow the free eights into the half spaces. The club way involves the fullbacks in the wide areas, with the wingers staying in the half spaces instead, and the 8s staying deeper. Either way, it forces the opposition fullback to pick between guarding the half space or confronting the man on the ball. The Guardiola way may suit him better, as he views 1 versus 1s in the wide areas as key, as he wants his wingers to take on the man and then look for the cross or the cutback, and he will look to overload the box with 3 to 4 players at times, making sure that the far side winger attacks the far post. With regards to finishing, Pirlo views getting men between the lines as vital, as from here they can look for the finish or to play in a forward. And when it comes to depth, he always wants at least one man looking to make the run in behind, to create more spaces between the lines and to be an option. If he uses a front 2, then opposing movements will be a much bigger factor in creating space, with one man coming short to receive the ball, whilst one pushes into the space created. But how about when it comes to defending? Well, he has 2 objectives. The first is do not concede, and the second is to win the ball back as quickly as possible. To him, winning the ball high up is important not only to get into dangerous positions, but also to crush the psyche of the opponents. As he says, it limits the courage and self-esteem of our opponents. The man who loses the ball initiates the press, but does not jump into the tackle as they may be easily dribbled. Instead, they look to close off a passing lane coming infield to force them into wider areas instead. From here, the team will push up almost man to man, so it is critical for the keeper to be able to cover these large spaces. And of course, in deeper areas, they will look to hold a more compact shape. This possession-based style of play is likely to bring great rewards, but there are also great risks associated with it, and it may take time to get it functioning completely fluidly. But I would love to know, down below, do you think that Juventus currently has the personnel to implement this? Do you think that Pirlo will be able to, and given the time, to establish this style? And how do you see the season going? I'm sure you noticed that I didn't mention any Juventus players with regards to the positions, so comment down below and start a discussion with other football lovers about which player you think is ideally suited for which position in Pirlo's team. As always, a massive shout out to my Patreons for helping me to cover a broader range of topics with their support. If you want to help support Football Made Simple, check out patreon.com/footballmadesimple and you get early access to videos, exclusive videos, and more. And a special thanks to Faris Sami, Zaki Karetz, Rotimi Ayorinde, Stan, Eduardo Karsberg, Benny, and Chiron. But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.